Welcome to the Savvy Podcast with me, Helen, and my amazing guests. Every week, we'll be bringing you experienced pet pros and specialist experts covering all aspects of the pet industry. Brought to you by Savvy Pet Spa, the global booking software for pet professionals everywhere. Now let's get this podcast popping. Hello again to my favourite pet professionals. You know that our podcast is now being relaunched and it's the new Savvy vibe. So for those who've not heard about us, Savvy Pet Spa is the best booking software in the UK. It's our go-to software. And if I have anything to do about it, it's going to be a global software as well soon. So if you're a pet professional out there and you want a good booking software that's a really good business management tool as well, please go take a look at Savvy Pet Spa because it's amazing. I use it in my own salons and I recommend it to everybody and anybody because it really does make a difference. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Michelle. So I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm going to read this because I had to write this because this woman is... right, okay, just bear with me, okay? I'm going to read because it's the only way I'm going to get through this and I might get a bit tongue-tied, so bear with me. I've tried to condense this. I could have literally been talking all day about this wonderful lady. So Michelle Knowles is with us today and she is absolutely... which is just astounding, okay? So for those of you who don't know her and have not heard about her yet, rush to your devices and type Michelle Knowles into your keypad now and do some research because she is changing the face of grooming and in more ways than one. So Michelle has more letters after her name than the alphabet, first and foremost. She genuinely does. So we've got, and I don't know half of these myself, so we've got MPAE, ICMG, which we know, everybody knows that one, the MAAE, a CCE. She's certified teacher via the NDGAA and IPG. She's been a business owner, still is a business owner. She's got all things paws, is it? Yep, all things paws. She's got the herbal paw, Pocket 3. That's hard to get your teeth around. She's got, 30 plus years under her belt, so she's not somebody to be trifled with. She's a certified master groomer, certified master pet, I can't never say it, esthetician. Is that correct?
Esthetician.
There we are, that word. And so she genuinely knows everything. Her knowledge base is vast. She's been an apprentice, a volunteer. She's managed salons, kennels, zoos. She's managed vets. She's done stuff across the globe and all across the USA. She is literally trained all over the world and she specializes in pet skin health, coat condition as well, fear and trauma, which is very close to my heart because I think we need to know more about that as professionals, and also trauma recovery. And basically, she's just got a plethora of information. So without further ado, say hello, Michelle Knowles.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, it's an absolute pleasure. So we can both chat. We know that. We've established that one. So I'm going to jump straight in and ask my first question. I always ask the same question at the beginning, the same question at the end. So can you tell us briefly how you began this journey? Because it has been a journey.
It has been a journey. I first started, I wanted to be pre-vet. I was pre-vet. I wanted to be a veterinarian. And while you're working with, while you're in school, basically, they want you to work with animals. So I got a job at the zoo, and I also got a finite job at a research facility where you would brush teeth. They were testing a toothpaste. So you brushed rat teeth, basically, and you came in every day, took care of them, this, that, and the other.
I have to ask you, how do you clean rat teeth? It's bad enough doing a dog or a cat. How do you do rat?
Well, they're lab rats, and they're very pliant. So they basically let you, as long as you're not mean to them, they love it because they get treats and whatever. They're on their special diets. But I took care of them. I named them. We had a great time. Then after about 8 weeks, I came in and they had boiled all their skulls and they were all on a tray.
Oh, I was just drinking water then.
Sorry about that. But yeah, and then I remembered, oh yeah, you have to do this when you're a vet. You've got to dissect and do kind of, not necessarily mean things, but mean things to the animals to learn your trades. I mean, I respect veterinarians from the bottom of my heart, the things that they have to go through to learn what they learn. I'm not capable of that. I can't cut into a live being. I just can't do it. My hand won't do it. So I figured, okay, I can't do the veterinary thing. What's the next best thing? And somebody suggested, well, why don't you groom dogs? And I figured, okay, that's interesting. So I went to the public library, and we lived in the Capitol. So it was the biggest library that I had available, and I read all 97 titles of grooming in one weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, but you have to understand most of the information at that time was just like meet your Yorkie and how to take care of your Rottweiler. They weren't really grooming manuals like we have today. And I started by stealing stray dogs off the street and grooming them and finding them homes.
That's what I used when I was little.
That's literally that's how I started. And I always had that medical genetic code in my head, that I wanted to do something that was more than just grooming.
And you so a scientific mind and a grooming mind, and just there's been a collaboration. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm like, what can I do for these pets that no one's doing right now? And you see all kinds of skin conditions, so I'm like, well, how do you fix that? So that began the journey, grooming and, of course, making them feel better.
Yeah.
So
that's what it's all about at the end of the day. A groom, if it's not for, there are some show trims I agree with, and there's some show trims I don't agree with, but predominantly your pet is coming in your salon or going to you for work on, whether that's with the clippers or is it bath and blow dries, wherever that might be, to make a difference. And it should be a positive difference. So that leads me nicely to my next question, and I know some people will know this, but I think there will be a lot of probably new groomers. I didn't know this bit until I read up on you. I know the skin is an organ. I know that anyway, but I didn't know that around 20% of the skin is actually contributes to the immune system for a dog. That blew my mind. That blew my mind. I didn't know, and I've been, I'm grey, I'm old, and retired now. So, and I was like, I don't think I know everything, but you think most of the important stuff. That is a massive important factor in what you're doing with your dog. So in the eyes of a groomer, new, old, indifferent, whatever that might be, and they've got a pet coming to the salon for the first time, and what would you say would be your key visual as a pet professional to go, yeah, there's something very wrong here? If that, what would you say? Because it's important.
It's a collection of things, really, and I want to touch on that. Skin is around 20% of the immune system, because even today, and I've been talking my face off for 30 plus years. Even today, people think that it's all in the gut. It's all in the gut. Well, the skin is the first line of defense. So that has to have some immunity to the environment. And the other percentages, I guess, are in the gut and within the bone, in the marrow, where all that stuff happens.
Mind-blowing. But people don't talk about it. I mean, predominantly, I don't know if it's the same over there with you, but here in the UK and in the surrounding islands, we've had a massive influx of bulldog breeding. And we know that they come with a whole plethora of specific genetic issues for that breed. And we see Frenchies coming in through the door, and British bulldogs, every type of bulldog you can think of, and even pugs now, sapling with pugs, and they're coming through the door. And the first thing people are saying, some vets are saying is, "Oh, it's diet, it's diet." And I'm like, well, you're putting them on all these different diets, you're being guided, and then there's the controversy over whether there should be bone in the meat that they're eating through in raw, and what kibble they should have, and should they have a mix of this. So it's complex. It's not a quick fix. It's not
right. And I don't want to downplay the importance of good nutrition. I mean, good nutrition, that's where it all starts. However, they live in an environment in which we live also. So we've changed their natural environment, whatever that was, many, many moons ago. So they do have a lot of our same maladies. Because people do feed table food and this, that, and the other. So, I mean, the gut health is important. However, when you can actually feed the skin because they're very absorbent.
Yeah.
So if you feed the skin with the correct nutrients on the outside, you actually can take the burden off the body of providing nutrients to the skin so it can work on all the organs. So hygiene is very important. It's a health issue. It's not just making them pretty or smell good, because they live in our environment, because they have controlled diets. They're not a wild dog, wandering off into the sunset.
Yeah.
All the things important.
Getting the right, I mean, I talked briefly on the podcast we did yesterday about the acidity mantle of products on dog skin because the skin is so much thinner than ours, and people don't realize that. They don't realize that the trauma the skin goes through if it's got slicker burn is far worse, and we would recover very much quicker. And then you're opening that organ up for infection to go in as well. So it's difficult. But what would you say would be if a dog walked up to you, or you were passing a dog on the street today and you saw something and you thought, oh my God, that dog needs to go to the vets now. What would be what would alarm you the most, or what has alarmed you the most if there's a scenario and you've gone, oh wow,
And if there is an incredible amount of bruising under the matting, sometimes that can be fatal. However, if there's bruising, there's also probably some underlying condition that probably needs to just be diagnosed and ruled out by a vet before they're cleared for grooming. Anything that's sticky, like of the skin, not just sticky on the skin, like a lollipop or something like that. But if the skin itself is sticky, or if the hair is very dull, and there's patches missing, there's always something that should be looked at by a veterinarian to make sure that there's nothing underlying. Sometimes they can just, the sun can damage the coat and it looks very brittle and there's nothing wrong with the dog.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, they show it in their coat. They'll show it in the skin. They'll show it in the brightness of their eyes, or if they're weepy. If there's a rust color from every orifice, the feet, the anal area, the mouth, the eyes, then there's something going on inside that the body's trying to push out.
Yeah.
So a clean bill of health is always really important.
Yeah.
Before any grooming or any training or any hobbies like agility or whatever, you want to make sure that dog's healthy enough to do that activity.
Well, you hear first, guys. They are the things that you need to be looking for. They would alarm you to be asking questions of the owner, I think, and then you would need to make it as an educated decision as you can as to whether you recommend it go straight to a vet. So that's important. So I once worked with a Westie, and I could not work out how this Westie's fur, no undercoat at all, and it was just dull, lackluster. It always felt as if it felt like damp sand. That's the only way I can explain it. And I remember the sister always brought this dog in, and I remember the gentleman that owned the dog brought in this one day, and I said, look, I've been trying to work out because I want to make your dog look nice, but I can't do a good cut on this because the coat's, but the dog's generally, not okay, and I'm wondering if there's something going on. He said, oh well, I don't know. She's been off her burgers, and I said, pardon? She's been off her burger? He said, oh yeah, she'd only eat burgers. It's like, you say you've got this elderly dog and all she's eating all her life is burgers. Can you imagine what that dog's insides are like? It was manifesting through the coats. That's a really prime example for me. So yeah, it just made me think of it. Now I know one of the other things that you do, so I want to move on really quickly, is you work on trauma, and I know you work you've done extensive work on this, and I think what I've read is being mind-blowing. So and groomers deal with this on the daily, where they'll get a dog come in where it's been to other groomers and there's been an issue and nobody else can groom it, and that could be a rescue. It could just be a badly behaved pet because it's been badly trained from the beginning, or it's been badly handled by a groomer. There are many different reasons for that. So as far as trauma is concerned, what would be your top tip to deal with something? How would you wait if a dog walks through the door right now? What would be a visual cue? You go, we need to be very careful with this dog, or this dog needs some trust. It's got trust issues, so we need to do some trust work first. What would be your cue for that?
Well, normally now when they come to me, I do an evaluation. I talk to the owner, but I'm really looking at the dog and looking at the body language. Body language is so nuanced and beautiful and rich in dog language. I can't imagine not paying attention to some of the dog behavior studies out there or the books. Brenda Aloff has one of the best visual books that I know of, The Body Language of Dogs.
Sophia Yin. She did some psychological stuff for dogs, didn't she, as well? I can't remember the name right, but I did read it.
I've read her as well, but I just think for the common groomer who just wants to know, who's not really aware of how body language works, we know a little bit. But if you really want to delve in, I think the only point that I disagree with is when they sneeze. That she has in her book, it's because they're super happy. I just think it's a very strong emotion. I've been sneezed at through all emotions, angry, sad, scared, happy. I just think they feel really strongly about whatever it is they're doing or whatever you're doing to them. But that's the only point of contention I have with that particular body language book. But other than that, I think it's spot on. And I think it's a really good pictorial view of what those languages look like. But when a dog comes in and they're fearful, they won't react like a normal happy dog. Some dogs will wag their tails, but when you reach for them, they'll bite you. Yeah. So it's really important to read the language in their musculature of their face. If the client themselves are like, okay, holding on to the leash and won't let go, okay, you might have some issues with this dog. Yeah. I think the number one thing is you have to be passionate about rehabilitating those dogs. I think, and not through any fault, groomers tend to get into this assembly line grooming because, you're making your money and come on, dog, we got to get the done. Just get it done. Just get it done.
Corporate grooming is awful. And I think a lot of that is down to groomers not knowing their worth, not charging the value they should charge for the service they provide. I think if they charged correctly based on, the time taken, the experience they have, et cetera, that they would feel less like a conveyor belt.
Mm-hmm. But I think that does contribute a lot to fearfulness in the grooming process. You have to be able to slow down. You have to have a facility that is conducive to rehabilitating the dog. If it's loud and there's rock and roll music playing and everybody's shouting, that's probably not a good salon to do that in.
And as well, they pick up on each other's body language as well and facial expressions and how they move well on the table. So if a dog that is already anxious has come in and they see a dog that you don't realize in dog talk, their body as it displaying aggression or sees it as a sexual object because it's just about to come to season and you don't know, they're the things that you can't pre-plan that because you don't know until that happens. At that point, that's when you stop and reassess, I think. I
think the best way of combating all of those things is by training. You're training yourself and having a protocol in place. How to pass in a close area. You put the people between the dogs and you're moving. I think a really good 5-step plan program I found is Canine Lifeline. Mm-hmm. And it is by Heather Beck. She has on YouTube, you just go on YouTube and find the 5 steps Canine Lifeline, and it's a K and a 9. She says these are the training things before you even go into her facility. Those dogs are trained to the 5 steps before she'll let them come into the social. And those really can be related to how we act in the grooming area as well. How to sit, how to be calm, how to look for signs of calmness before we move forward on the leash. Targeting the tub, the table, all of those things. You have to train the dog to grooming, not just get it in there and muzzle it and hold it still and get your work done and then send it back out again. You're actually training them to hate what they need for the rest of their lives.
I think a lot of groomers that and it's sad because they start with the best intentions and they want to work with dogs because they love dogs and they don't go for any formal training or they don't do any formal training. They choose to opt out of that and they've learned a little bit on the hoof somewhere else. And then you see them with dogs strung up on the necks and belly straps on and the dog can't move, I have Borzois, and we've moved recently and I took her to a groomer and the groomer I took her to lovely and they did a fantastic job. But I had to stand and say to her, please do not use a belly strap on her. She's prone to bloat. And the first was that remarkable was bloat. Yeah. And I'm like,
I'm not against belly bands, but I know that they are helpful just for a minute. Yeah. However, if you're forcing a dog to stand by strapping it up really tightly with the loop, you have to understand when we train a dog to sit, what do? We pull up on the leash and then we tap down on the rear to make them sit because they're trying to get away from pressure. That's how their brain works. So if you would relax the loop a little bit and let their spine be straight, they're going to be a lot more compliant than if you just try to string them up.
I used belly bands when I was grooming, but it would only be when I was, doing hygiene area or if you got one the extra support if you've got an elderly dog and you're shaving pads out, I've even laid dogs down before now and said, look, let me try and do this here, and it's just having that knowledge. And I think if you continuously, again, education is important and you need to be learning, I've said it before and I'll say it again. if you stop learning, it's time to stop.
I agree completely. Yeah, belly bands are great for specific issues, but you are putting pressure on the organs. And the heavier the dog is, the more pressure you're putting. The older a dog is, you can actually cause internal bleeding, especially if the belly band is very thin. If it's padded and huge, maybe that's a little bit better. But trying to make an old dog stand, can you imagine making your 96-year-old grandmother stand up and for 4 hours or whatever? That would be really hard on her.
It's awful. But yeah, there's space for everything with the industry, because things have been developed with specific uses in mind. But I think sometimes we forget. And, especially again with corporate grooming, there's this conveyor belt, so you're feeling pressured. And often that's not to do with the groomer themselves, is to do with the business owner, with the pressure that's
absolutely. It's just, it's the business model. I understand it completely. I've done all of those things in my career. When you get into a salon for the first time, you're like, okay, I have to do this, and you have to do it their way. Yeah. So I mean, as you go, you learn more and you do better.
So moving on from that, and I thank you, because I think that was a really, really good point, and I love what you're sharing with us. If anybody in the world wants to come on your courses, or if they want access to the material you've produced, obviously we're in the UK, Savvy is global. How would they do that? How would they reach out to you, or who would they contact? Can we have that information so we can...
Certainly, you can go online, and it is allthingspaw.com. And that is the umbrella for everything I do. You can find the apothecary, you can find the products, you can find the flashcards, you can find the courses. Everything is all there. There's a bunch of free articles and videos and information. And if you have questions, just contact me at michelle@allthingspaw.com.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Because I know we'll often have people come back to us and say, oh, how do I get this? And there are some products that are available in the UK that aren't available in the US, and vice versa. I mean, I was lucky enough to come to Hershey's last year, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. But it was fantastic. It was nice. And I saw some good things, and I saw some horrific things. So, it's the same everywhere in the world. But it's nice to be able to have that, so they can go to you, and they can get the information they want. So I did mention before, I always have I would ask the same two finishing questions. It's one question, but with like a caveat of two underneath. So if you had to go and live on a desert island with a pet of your choice, with a coat type of your choice, and you could take two things, one being a product and one being a tool, what would they be and why? I know that's a tough question, but it's a good one. And you can name drop if you want. I don't mind you name dropping. That's fine.
Wow. I don't know. For grooming, you mean? If I had to have two things?
You could take a whippet if you like and just take some massage oil. I don't mind. But
I would probably take some conditioner. And I would probably take a brush.
A brush. Any specific brush? Do you have a preference? And do you have a preference?
Probably a slicker.
Yep.
Even though, I mean, if I'm on a desert island, I'm not doing show dogs. So probably a slicker and some conditioner would probably be the main two. If I had to just have two, that would be it.
You only know two. I mean, you can name a few more if you want to, but there you go. But
my additives are what I live and die by. My life's mission is to absolutely break free of brand dependence. So when I teach my courses, I teach by ingredient, and I'll show you how to actually pick and choose whatever product you want to use, not the product everybody's telling you should use. Yeah.
Professional product. We had this in the UK. I don't know if you have it over there, but we had a product called Marshmallow, I think it was called, and it was a detangling product. And literally, we went to Crufts. It was the Crufts before COVID, I believe. It might be the one before that, actually. And you couldn't get it. You just couldn't buy it, and it was horrific. I hated it. I didn't like it. I know groomers that love it and stood by it. But I'm a corn powder girl. I'll just get corn flour, and I'll use that on mats because it's kinder, it's nicer, and it's not going to cause anything nasty to the dogs. So if I can use it, I'll use it. That's always been my go-to. So and you can cook with it too. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I work a lot with raw materials because I think I want people to understand where all those products come from. All those commercial products are made with these raw materials. You can do therapy so economically. by learning how to do this just by raw material alone. So if you want to buy the big expensive products, you absolutely can. They're luxurious. They foam up nice. They smell good. However, you can do the same things with the raw materials and learning how to add them together and what order to put them in for any given situation that you come against.
It's so important. And I think that people often forget the importance of the chemicals you're putting onto the dog skin, because one, it's an organ. Two, it's 4 or 5 layers. Three, it's so susceptible to chemical burn. The acidity mantle for us as humans is far different to the acidity mantle that would be okay for a dog. I once spoke with a customer who was using this lovely little dog that kept coming in, always had itchy skin, and she'd been bathing it intermediately between grooms in baby shampoo, Johnson's baby shampoo. Acidity mantle, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, I wouldn't wash my own children's hair with it. Please don't wash your dog with it. People don't realise. And again, it's education. You have to want to learn. And if you don't, that's fine too. But if you want to give the best service, in my opinion, education is key. And education is across the board. It's not just about, conformation. It's not about anatomy. It's not about just about skin or grooming tools.
About everything. It's so complex, yes.
And if you don't know, it's okay to say to a customer, I don't know. I will go find out. I will go and research that. It's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know everything. I don't profess to know everything. I know what I know, and that's it. I've learned so much just in the last 2 podcasts with you and with the lady we did the podcast with yesterday. And it's like, wow, I wasn't aware. I mean, I did not know. Generally did not know that the skin was 20% of the immune system. That was part of it. I just didn't know it. I was like, blew my mind. So, just that bit for me was like my lesson of the day. And it made me read more on it as well. So it's interesting. But I do appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your bits with us and your top tips and everything. And I'm sure that the listeners are going to as well, because I know our professional peeps out there, they like a bit of inside information. So I appreciate it. And hopefully when you come to the UK next, you can come and see us and we can have some more top tips.
That would be amazing. Yeah. And if we ever do a seminar, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
We could do hands-on workshop.
Savvy seminars. That would be a good idea. I like that idea. Yeah, that would be really good. Right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate being here. I know that Emma, who's put all this together for us in the background, working away, and Savvy appreciates it as well. So thank you kindly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye. Take care. If you'd like to know more about Savvy and our booking software, visit us online at savvypetspa.com. Thanks for joining. Catch you next time.